In the world of professional diplomacy, a summit of such historic import is usually the culmination of years of lower-level diplomatic maneuvering. Moreover, Nixon had articulated during his candidacy his view that a better relationship with China would be strategically important vis-a-vis the Soviet Union. When he sent his national security advisor, Henry Kissinger, to meet secretly with the Chinese a year before he himself met with Mao, it was part of a grand strategy and coherent policy. Numerous Korea watchers I've interviewed since Trump took office have said the current U.S. president does not have a clear policy on North Korea, as evidenced by vacillating messages that have come out of the president's own mouth and Twitter feed in the last year. In just 6 months, the rhetoric has gone from fire and fury to the current plan for direct engagement at the highest level. The White House attributes this development to its policy of maximum pressure on Pyongyang. The U.S. led the way in UN Security Council sanctions that have put an unprecedented economic squeeze on Kim. For the first time, according to the South Koreans, Kim has agreed to freezing nuclear and missile tests and accepting Korean joint military exercises. But there are some parallels with Nixon, who also kept his own Secretary of State out of the loop before the summit. In Nixon's case, that secretary was William Rogers. Trump's top diplomat, Rex Tillerson, was in Africa talking about how conditions were not ripe for negotiations with Pyongyang a day before Trump accepted the invitation for direct talks with Kim. Tillerson cut his Africa trip short, and after returning to Washington was dismissed by Trump on Tuesday. For those who have followed the rumors about Tillerson's impending exit, which had earned its own nickname, Rekit, the change may not come as a surprise. But the timing of Trump's personnel decision is critical. During his 14-month tenure, Tillerson had to reassure NATO allies of the American commitment to the alliance and temper concerns that Trump was planning to scuttle the Iran deal. He was at the head of a State Department toward which the president had shown disdain, cutting its budget and leaving key diplomatic posts unfilled. And when it came to North Korea, Tillerson was the one trying to keep diplomacy alive, even while Trump was threatening to totally destroy the DPRK in a speech at, of all places, the United Nations. Ian Bremmer, president of Eurasia Group, tweeted in response to the Pompeo announcement, Pompeo dramatically more hawkish on Korea and Iran. Challenging day for the planet. During his time as CIA director, Pompeo made North Korea an urgent priority, finding creative means to interdict shipments into North Korea that violated sanctions and taking credit for improving intelligence gathering on the opaque nation. He has presented Trump with options if diplomacy fails, and has reiterated Trump's stance that the goal is to have North Korea denuclearize permanently. A few days before Trump announced he was going to be the new head of the State Department, Pompeo was on the Sunday morning news programs, saying on Fox News, "While these negotiations are going on, there will be no concessions made. I've worked with Mike Pompeo now for quite some time," Trump said in the wake of the announcement. "Tremendous energy, tremendous intellect. We're always on the same wavelength. The relationship has been very good. That's what I need as Secretary of State. I wish Rex Tillerson well." As discussions take place leading up to the potential summit, a big question is who will be Trump's Kissinger, who will do the important work of coming up with an agreement with the North Koreans on the agenda, terms, expectations, and protocols of a face-to-face meeting, who will be the point person on the U.S. side. Will it be the newly anointed Pompeo, who must still be confirmed by the Senate? Will it be Trump's hawkish national security advisor, the former General H.R. McMaster, who has also been rumored to be on his way out? Will it be Jared Kushner, his son-in-law and special advisor, who has been charged with solving the intractable Israeli-Palestinian issue, but who recently had his security clearance downgraded? Which Trump acolyte has dealt with the intricacies of North Korea and nuclear diplomacy, and has the high-level clout to cooperate with allies and wrangle the president himself? Peter Van Buren, a former consul at the U.S. Embassy in Seoul between 1997 and 2001, told me the South Koreans have effectively been playing the Kissinger role up to this point. "We've gone nowhere, made no progress," says Van Buren, who was based in Seoul when then Secretary of State Madeleine Albright visited Pyongyang. Trump, for better or worse, is not beholden to norms. He has disrupted this cycle. If the end result is a return to the current status quo, Van Buren surmises there will still be chances for diplomacy, but others are more pessimistic. Victor Cha, who was considered but ultimately rejected by Trump to become U.S. ambassador to South Korea, wrote recently in the New York Times of the high price of a botched meeting. Failed negotiations at the summit level leave all parties with no other recourse for diplomacy. Through editorials and national TV interviews, Cha and other scholars, diplomats, North Korea watchers and assorted national security types have been eagerly proffering advice to Trump since he announced he would meet with the leader he once derided as Little Rocket Man. Many others are beseeching Trump to prepare assiduously before he meets the enigmatic Kim. Brookings Institution's Asia expert, Jeffrey Bader, has listed the technical experts, scientists, and former negotiators that Trump should consult in his list of 9 things Trump should do before he meets with Kim Jong-un. Negotiations have started and stopped with the North Koreans with 3 successive U.S. presidents. Nicholas Kralev, author of America's Other Army, the U.S. Foreign Service and 21st Century Diplomacy, says Trump would be wise to study previous negotiations, especially where they went awry, but he's skeptical.